أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على محمد قائد الغر الميامين وعليه وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين، وارض عنا معهم بفضلك وكرمك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم آمين. How many of you heard of Salatul Hajah? Salatul Hajah is the prayer of distress. You know, when you are under so much pressure and you have needs and you need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you, to interfere in your life, to be there. It's called Salatul Hajah. And the Prophet ﷺ taught us that you pray Salatul, any 2 rak'ahs could constitute Salatul Hajah as long as you say the dua afterwards. So when you make taslim, you say this dua. لا إله إلا الله الحكيم العليم لا إله إلا الله رب العرش الكريم اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والغنيمة من كل بر والسلامة من كل إثم والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار. And then you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about that which really matters to you. But I was on my way here, and in the car I am saying the dua, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the event a success, and to help me with my language and my arguments, and to give me ikhlas and to give you as well. And then I was struck by the dua in which the Prophet ﷺ would say, Allahumma inni as'aluka mujibati rahmatik. Lord, I ask you of the factors that decree your compassion, the factors that make your compassion mandatory upon you. And I thought about the dua for a second, and I was like, what in this universe could possibly compel Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to practice compassion? What in this universe could compel Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do anything for that matter, except His own will? And I was then reminded by an ayah in the Quran in which Allah says, كَتَبَ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ الرَّحْمَةِ. كَتَبَ عَلى نَفْسِهِ الرَّحْمَةِ. He has decreed compassion and mercy upon Himself. So it's okay to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, create favorable circumstances so that your rahmah becomes required of you. Can you imagine that? The type of communication with the Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I don't know why that moment my heart was really struck. Because I was just so thankful, for the ni'mah that is Islam. That opens that channel between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and makes it comfortable for you to speak to the Lord. That ni'mah that we're reminded of this right now, because at the end of the year, the passing year, and the beginning of a new year, it's a time of distress. Maybe not financially for many of us, but it's a time of distress because you're looking back at your year, and maybe you're disappointed. If you're like me, you're disappointed at the things that you've done and the things that you haven't done, right? You feel bad, you're remorseful, sins that you've committed, people you've yelled at, opportunities you've missed, right? Forms of ibadah that you could have partaken in. And so you look back at the year, and then you look forward to the next year, and you are in the midst of that emotional turmoil thinking, okay, is this going to be business as usual, or is this going to be a new year for real? New in words and in action, okay? So this is a time of distress, and if it's not, then you're missing the picture. It's the time looking, as the Imam said, looking at the passing year and looking forward to the upcoming year, and being in anticipation. How is this going to turn out? This upcoming. Ya Allah, I ask you to create circumstances that will make your mercy and your rahmah upon me required of you. How about that? And I said, Alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islam. Let me ask you this question. How many of you are born in a Muslim family? How many of you converted to Islam? Like 2 or 3 people, right? Most of us were born into Islam. And sometimes you don't realize this, brothers and sisters. Wallahi, the greatest ni'mah, the greatest blessing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you is that He gave you Islam without you even asking for it. Right? There are people who spend 10 and 15 and 20 years searching for the truth, making dua and making dua and making dua, asking Allah, Lord, if you're out there, guide me, show me the way. And there you are, born into a Muslim family, taught Islam on a silver spoon from the minute you were born. And that makes me say, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us Islam without even asking, perhaps He will give us Jannah if we asked, right? If Allah Azza wa Jal gave us Islam without even asking, then perhaps Allah Azza wa Jal can grant us Jannah since we're asking so much for it, right? And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant each and every one of us Jannah at this juncture of our lives. Now that we've lived so far, young or old, but we've lived so far, alhamdulillah. And now a new year is going to start. We've all survived everything we've seen, all the accidents on the freeways, all the plagues and the infections and the illnesses, the hasad, all the crazy stuff that happened around us, and we survived all of it, and here we are, we made it to Rockland tonight. And inshallah ta'ala, we're going to leave this place safe and sound and go back to our families and our lives and start that new year, right? And I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this upcoming year will be a year of transformation, of true change. As the Imam said, change of the heart, change of the mind, change of the physical body to the better, change of opportunity, change of paths. We do something amazing, inshallah, this year. And you look back at 1437 with less remorse than that which you used to look at 1436. But we talk about journeys, right? And I wanted to remind you of a journey of a great companion of the Prophet ﷺ. Salmaan al-Farissi, radiallahu anhu, to a Zoroastrian priest. His father was a Zoroastrian priest. He is the man that takes care of the fire at the temple. You're familiar with the Zoroastrian religion, right? That is mainly, it used to be in Persia. And he decided to abandon Zoroastrianism. Why? Because as the son of the priest, who is always at the temple, he realized that he has the awesome, remarkable power of putting out the fire. And if you put out the fire, you kill what? You kill God. He could not accept that. He could not accept that notion that I, a human being, a teenager, can actually just turn off this thing and then the fire is gone, and with it, God as we know Him. He could not accept that. So at the age of 13, 14, he sets out on this journey. He leaves Persia behind him and he travels all the way to Syria, stays there for a number of years with the Christians, and then he comes back to Mosul in Iraq, stays there for a number of years, and then he travels back to Amuriya in Turkey and stays there for a number of years. Until his priest was on his deathbed. So Salman came to his priest and says, "Teacher, you've been good to me. You are the one that I love the most in this world, and you taught me most of the things I know. Please, before you leave this world, guide me to someone else that will become my teacher in the event that you passed away." So he tells him, "Listen, my son, I cannot think of anyone of my contemporaries that could be considered an honorable and a great scholar that you can actually trust. But this is the time of the ascension of a new prophet. What is his name? I don't know his name. But that prophet is to be pursued in a city of palm trees. And he has the 3 signs of prophethood. He accepts gifts, and he does not accept charity, and the seal of prophethood is on his back." So the hope in the heart of Salman was ignited again. And he decided to continue to be on the lookout for that man who will rise in a city of date palms. And then some people over there told him, after he confided in some friends about the date palms and the prophecy, they told him, "We don't know any place that has so many date palms but Arabia. Maybe that should be your destination." And one day, was those merchants, tradesmen, who came to Turkey in order to do some business exchange. And he told them, they were Arabs, and he told them, "I will give you everything I have, my goats, my sheep, all of my wealth, and please take me with you." So they said, "Okay, fine, we'll take you with us." Halfway through the trip, they tricked him, they tied him up, declared him as a slave, and sold him to a Jewish man who had a cousin that lived in the city of Medina. And Salman, all of this time, he surrenders himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will take me wherever He takes me. I'm on a mission. And he continues his migration until he landed in the city of Medina. And the minute he walks in, he saw what? He saw the beautiful date palms of Medina. And he says, this is the place, inshallah. With the grace of the Almighty, this is going to be the place, right here. He accepted slavery, he accepted ill treatment by his master, and he continued to serve and serve and serve for so many years, until one day, the advent of the Prophet ﷺ came about him. Muhammad will migrate to Medina soon. But as a slave, you're limited in what you can do. You continue to work and just take glances and glimpses at the apparent joy and happiness that so many people in Medina experienced. And it was that fateful day when he finally heard that the Prophet ﷺ is coming to Medina, to the city of Yathrib today. And Rasulullah ﷺ walks in the company of his beautiful family and companions. You have Ali ibn Abi Talib and you have Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and everyone was with him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And he sat between them, and Salman needed to check the signs. So he came to him and he says, Ya Muhammad, I have some dates here that I would like to give as charity. There, you look hungry, you and your friends, please take it. And the Prophet ﷺ took the bowl of dates. And Salman was like, oh man, he took the bowl. That must not, it cannot be the Prophet. It must be someone else. But he took the bowl and he put it right in front of him on the table, and he invited everyone else to eat, and he did not touch it. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he said to himself, okay, number one, check. I'll come back tomorrow. Another bowl of dates. He says, Ya Muhammad, I noticed that yesterday that you did not eat from my dates because perhaps you thought that this was charity and you don't accept charity, but I would like to give you this as a gift. Please, take from it. So Prophet ﷺ took the bowl, took one, and shared the rest with the companions. So Salman says, number two, check. Comes back the third day to the Prophet ﷺ, and continues to sit looking at the Prophet. The Prophet was wearing his cloak, alayhi salatu wasalam. Part of his chest was showing, part of his shoulder was showing, but he couldn't see his back. So every time the Prophet moves or turns around, Salman tries to peek to see if there is that prophethood sign thing. I don't even know what that is. But who noticed the glances and the stares? The Prophet ﷺ himself. So he took off his cloak and turned his back and showed it to Salman and said, perhaps that is what you're looking for. And Salman saw the mole on the Prophet's back with a couple of hairs coming out of it. And immediately, that is the harvest of 40, 50 years worth of hard work right there. That moment, he's about to reap the harvest. He fell on his knees and his tears went down like floods on his cheeks. And he finally said, Ya Rasulullah, I finally found you. I finally found you. You're here in the flesh, sitting right in front of me. I can see you with my own eyes. So Prophet ﷺ, his heart was very tender. And the minute he saw Salman overflowing with emotions, he, got emotional himself. And there were tears in his eyes. And he says, my cousin, Ya Ibn al-Am, tell me, what is it? Tell me your story, what is it? And Salman told him that very long story that everyone in the gathering memorized. That's why it's an authentic story. And that is when the Prophet ﷺ made this remarkable declaration. Salman minna ahlul bayt. Salman belongs to us, the family of the Prophet. He's not just some Sahabi. He's not just some Persian guy who's not native to the Arabs. He's not just some immigrant into Medina. He's not a slave. He's not a muhajir. He belongs to my family, Salman. The funny thing is that the Prophet's respect for the law would not allow Salman to break free from the bondage of slavery. He continued to be the slave. Matter of fact, he failed to witness Badr and Uhud with the Prophet because he couldn't. Until it was the Prophet ﷺ is the one that suggested to him, Katib ya Salman. buy yourself out. Buy yourself out. And they had this agreement with his slave owner, and they had a little fundraising among the companions. And that's why I tell you fundraising is sunnah, you don't believe me. Among the companions, they had this little fundraising and they raised some money to help Salman buy himself out, and he became a free man and he contributed to the battle of al-Ahzab. Now the story of Salmaan al-Farissi radiallahu anhu is that remarkable, epic story of a young man who, in the course of pursuing his dreams, in the course of pursuing the truth, pursuing the reality of this world, traveled and traveled and traveled, and performed hijrah after hijrah after hijrah from one city to the other until he found what he really, really wanted. Now let me ask you a question. What could have happened had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed for Salman to die in the course of his trip from Turkey to Medina? Islam was already happening for the past 13 years. But he did not become Muslim. He died while still on the journey. Would that have lowered the status of Salman in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Never. Because you die in the course of pursuing the truth, that would be the most honorable death you could ever dream of. But then there is hijrah. And as Imam said eloquently yesterday, there is ikhraj. Him and I were talking about our lectures. And he pointed out something really interesting, that not every hijrah is a voluntary hijrah. Sometimes people are arm twisted to leave, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked to us about this in the Quran in multiple locations. قال الذين كفروا لرسلهم لنخرجنكم من أرضنا أو لتعودن في ملتنا. You know, those who have, or whose hearts are bent on rejecting the truth, they told the messengers and the prophets, we will expel you out of our land, or you follow our ways, our religion. وقال الملأ الذين استكبروا من قومه لنخرجنك يا شعيب والذين آمنوا معك من قريتنا أو لتعودن في ملتنا. قال أولو كنا كارهين. The arrogant people, the leaders of the city in which Shu'aib alayhi salam used to live, they told him the same exact thing. We will expel you and the believers out of our city, or you follow our path, our deen, our religion. Right? Even the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself, وَإِذْ يَمْكُرُ بِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لِيُثْبِتُوكَ أَوْ يَقْتُلُوكَ أَوْ يُخْرِجُوكَ. The kuffar plot against you, O Muhammad, to either immobilize you, yuthbituk, so you don't practice da'wah for Islam anymore, or outright kill you, or expel you out of the city. Ikhraj. Kharaja is to leave, right? Ikhraj is to forcibly push someone to leave, okay? That is a form of hijrah, no? But it is a forcible hijrah. It is a hijrah where you are forced to leave from. Unlike Salman, Salman was driven by his desire to learn and grow. But there are people who leave their home countries because they were forced, because they didn't have a choice. And I just wonder sometimes, you know, I'm an immigrant myself. My children are not immigrants, they are first generation American Muslims. But I'm an immigrant. And I take pride, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, in that fact. I was blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be exposed to two very, very different worlds. And I learned so much from my experiences and my journeys and my own hijrah, right? But I still feel so horrible for people who come tell me, you know, Imam, I was forced to leave. You left by choice. I was forced to leave my home country. You know, my family was being persecuted ethnically or whatever. We were being persecuted because of our religion or because of our madhab. We were forced because we lost every single penny, and the government was going to take my kids as ransom. You didn't know about that, did you? Happens in some parts of the world. It was one African country, a brother tells me, that he had to leave because the local government would have taken his kids so that he pays his debt. And then they can give the kids back, right? My heart breaks when I feel that some people actually left their home countries and traveled, and all the childhood memories, and all the places, and all the beautiful things, and the friends, and the house, right? One brother, may Allah bless his soul, he's in Canada now, but he used to tell me, you know what, Imam, the one thing that I miss the most is the smell of roses. Because there was a rose garden right next to our house, and it used to send this breeze through my window into my room every night. It's the most beautiful thing. So I said, no, we have roses here. And he's like, oh, I promise you it's not the same. The roses of my childhood are not like Safeway roses. That's what he said. Rightly so. Okay? But I wanted to establish to you, inshallah, in the course of our talk tonight, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes chooses for you to go through a forcible immigration. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes charts that path for you because He wants something better for you. He pushes you out of your comfort zone. He propels you forward. He forces you to experience new things and to learn new things and to try new things and to better your experience and to sharpen your skills and to face a new world with new challenges, with new opportunities. And you look back later and say, Alhamdulillah. What used to look like a miserable undertaking now turns out to be the most blessed thing that ever happened to me. Right? There was this man, his name is Muhammad ibn Ismail. He was a scholar. But he was such a remarkably amazing scholar that left a huge footprint on Islam. To the extent that some of his contemporaries, one of them is called Muhammad ibn Yahya, says that if I am able to extend Ibn Ismail's life with years from my own life, I would have done it. لو استطعت أن أطيل عمر ابن إسماعيل من عمري لفعلت. Another scholar, his name is Abdullah ibn Hamad, says, والله لوددت أن أكون شعرة في صدر ابن إسماعيل. I wish I was a hair in the chest of Muhammad ibn Ismail. Another scholar says, I visited Egypt once and I was in the company of 35 of its greatest scholars. And they all said our mission in this world, the only thing that makes this world livable for us is that we study the legacy of Muhammad ibn Ismail. Who is that guy? But who he is not the most important thing. I will reveal that inshallah ta'ala in a second. It is his journey that really matters. He left his hometown just like Salmaan at a very young age, pursuing ilm and knowledge. Travels across the corners of the Islamic world, from one city to the other, from one town to the other, from one village to the other, collecting knowledge. And every time he enters a city, his reputation precedes him. They used to welcome him into their cities the way they welcomed victorious generals of military, of successful battles. But the one city that he truly felt connected with, the one city that he truly loved and felt it was like home, was the city of Nisapur, in present-day Iran. He goes to Nisapur and he loved the city so much, he bought a house, he got married, he got settled. And he decided that that's going to be it. I'm settling in this place. I love this place. And one of its greatest scholars, his name was Imam Azeez, loved Ibn Ismail so much. And he encouraged his students to listen to him and to attend his halaqah. And he was one of the leaders of Nisapur that basically made it possible for Muhammad ibn Ismail to be established in the city. But as times change, so are the hearts of men. Gradually, the halaqah of Ibn Ismail attracted more and more people. And Imam al-Zuhali lost ground, and lost support, and lost attendance. He became very jealous. Because at the end of the day, he's just a human being. Although he's the one that prophesied for Ibn Ismail, he became one of his biggest haters. And it was only a matter of a couple of years that al-Zuhali started spreading rumors about Ibn Ismail. And one of the rumors, he told them, "Is'aluhu an al-Quran فإنه يقول أن لفظ القرآن مخلوق. Ask him about the Quran, for he says that the recitation of the Quran, the utterances, the verbalizing of the Quran is a creation. Now some of you are probably puzzled. What does that even mean? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? See, the funny thing is that not so long ago, it was the fitna of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and the creation of the Quran. And orthodoxy prevailed. And Imam Ahmad established the simple notion that the Quran, kalamullah, these are the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not going to call it makhluq. It is not created. It's just the words of Allah. The Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah, their theology was simple. God is the creator. And anything that is not God is created. Right? So if you're not God, that means you are created. Makhluk. So they started saying that the Quran is also created. Right? Al-Quran makhluk. That's why they call it khalq al-Quran, the creation of the Quran. Imam Ahmad continued to tell them, well, there's nothing in the Quran that says that the Quran has been created. I mean, these are just the words of Allah. Why don't we just say that? And he was persecuted severely for years. And he was punished and tortured for years. And he continued to be steadfast. Just show me where in the Sunnah or where in the Quran that it says that it's actually makhluk. And then, the Mu'tazilis were kicked out of power and the fitna faded. But some remnants of that fitna continued. Some people tried to hold the stick from the middle. Well, the Quran is not really created. However, because we are created, and by extension our mouths and our tongues are created, so when we recite and verbalize the Quran, the verbalized form of the Quran is also created. Does that make sense? I mean, it doesn't, but does it? Do you understand it? Do you comprehend it? It's the silliest theological argument that the ancient world in Islam ever had, right? A lot of people lost their lives as a result of that. So al-Dhuhali accused Imam Muhammad ibn Ismail that he was one of those people who, while he probably hides in his Quran the theology that the Quran, in his heart, the theology that the Quran was created, but he definitely believes that the verbalizing of the Quran is also created. So they go and they started asking him, "Ya Imam, what do you say about that?" So he ignores the person. So the person asks the question again, he ignores him. Asks third time, 5 times, 6 times, until he finally and angrily said, "Innama al-Qur'anu kalamullah." Quran, these are the words of Allah. وَأَفْعَالُ النَّاسِ مَخْلُوقًا. The actions of people are created. وَامْتِحَانُ الْعُلَمَاءِ بِدْعَةً. Trying to test scholars and put them on a trial is a bid'ah, so behave yourself and stop what you're doing. So he told him, "Ya Imam, you did not deny it. So do you believe that verbalizing the Quran is created?" So he just repeated the same exact answer and he continued to repeat it. And that's when al-Dhuhali took advantage of that situation and continued to ignite fear of Ibn Ismail in the city of Nisapur until he turned the city into living hell against the man. They started going to his house and throwing rocks and throwing eggs and tomatoes and lurking in the dark, waiting to hurt him. And he, al-Dhuhali, warned his students, if you attend my halaqah, you don't attend Ibn Ismail's halaqah. And one of his greatest students, Muslim ibn Hajjaj, decided to quit attending al-Dhuhali, and he just moved. And one of his most promising students, Muslim ibn Hajjaj, eventually moved completely and fully into the halaqah of Ibn Ismail. Imam ibn Ismail eventually had to leave the city of Nisapur, the city that he loved the most. Completely fell in love with it, but he was arm-twisted to leave the city. But it was precisely because he left the city of Nisapur that the legacy of Imam Muhammad ibn Ismail became what it is today. Everyone started hearing about him, and everyone started studying his work, and everyone started following his authorship and looking at his books and attending his halaqas. And he landed in the city of Samarkand, which is in present-day Uzbekistan. And that was a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Samarkand is only 200 miles away from Muhammad ibn Ismail's city of birth, the city of Bukhara. And the reason we know Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari today is because he was kicked out of the city of Nisapur. And he became who he is. And his legacy endured as a result of that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted him to become something. How many scholars of hadith were his contemporaries? Thousands. How many people collected hadith at his time? Thousands. But how many of them was like al-Bukhari? Now the only reason we also remember one of his greatest students, Imam Muslim, is because he was involved and entangled in that controversy himself. He was a student of Dhuhali, and then he chose to leave al-Dhuhali and move completely with the Imam, and he left his city of birth, Nisapur, and followed Imam al-Bukhari. And that is why he became the great Imam Muslim that you and I know today. وَعَسَى أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَيَجْعَلُ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. Sometimes you hate something, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes that one thing that you hate the most the source of your happiness. Right? That is one thing we were taught across history, brothers and sisters. One example after the other, you see great people who were expelled out of their cities, who were forced to leave, who had to travel and send new routes in completely new environments and establish themselves from scratch, but they've done amazing things. I can tell you right now, had I not followed the nagging feeling in the back of my head that I needed to come to America, I would have probably been just some low-key average doctor with a clinic somewhere performing circumcisions. I'm serious. Like thousands and thousands and thousands of physicians of my generation, they could have done the simplest, most mundane activities, and that was it. And at the end of the day, you call yourself a doctor, and that's the end of the story. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destines you to something that is greater than you. It is greater than the tiny little dreams you have about yourself. Why do you think that the dreams that you have are the ceiling? What if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants something even bigger and better for you? Why don't you leave that door open? Let Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala work wonders in your life. Let Him make the decision, not you. Have your plan, say inshallah, everything. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala adjusts the plan, embrace it with an open heart. Now let me ask you a question, inshallah, I'm almost done with my talk. Who was the greatest and most honorable and most loved displaced refugee on the face of this earth? Who? Imam Ahmad? He wasn't expelled from South Africa, I don't think. Who was the most beloved refugee in our history? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Have you ever thought of Rasulullah as an example of someone that displaced, that was forcibly asked to leave his own city? Hijra, right? This is the occasion of Hijra. This is the beginning of the Hijri year. Did the Prophet leave the city of Mecca voluntarily or involuntarily? What did he say before leaving the city? Wallahi, in tears. Reminds me of that brother who still remembers the smell of the roses. In tears, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Wallahi, innaki la ahabbu biladillahi ilayhi. I swear, you are the most beloved of God's cities to my heart. وَلَوْلَا أَنَّ أَهْلَكِ أَخْرَجُونِ مِنْكِ مَا خَرَجْتُ. If it wasn't that your people are the ones that pushed me out and forcibly asked me to leave, I would have never left. He explicitly says, I am not leaving on my own cognizance, I'm leaving because I was forced to leave. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Do you think the Prophet wanted to start a new life and ask the believers to leave and leave his daughter Zainab behind and split the community and try something new in a new environment, not knowing if it was going to be successful or not? I don't think he really wanted to. If he wasn't that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the believers his leave, his permission for them to leave, I don't think the Prophet ﷺ would have contemplated the idea of permanently moving to another city. But I want you to look at the fruits of the journey. He ended up leaving the city of Mecca. He landed in Medina and established a beautiful city that became the jewel of our very civilization, of our very history and our very identity, the city of Medina. Up until today, you go to Medina, what is the one thing that you remember to do? What is the first thing that you want to do when you go to Medina? Check in at the hotel? What is the first thing you got to do when you go to Medina? You visit the Prophet ﷺ. 1,437 years after Hijra, and we still go to the city of Medina trying to take into our lungs the breeze of Muhammad ﷺ. We go there and we speak to the Prophet ﷺ as if he is alive and well. When you go to Rawdah, the city of Medina that became the capital of Islam, that became the springboard for the greatest and fastest political expansion that history had ever witnessed. In 35 years, the empire stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the western frontiers of China, and from the heart of Europe to the equator. What other civilization, what other group was able to cover such a massive land mass in less than 35 years? It's a marvel of history. It's a marvel of history. And it's all because the Prophet ﷺ believed in the alternative plan that Allah Azza wa Jal presented to him. Ya Muhammad, I know you like Mecca, and I know you don't want to perform Hijrah, but trust me, just leave, and all the doors are going to open to you. And I'm not suggesting, let me end with this quick thought, inshallah. I'm not suggesting that we should somehow run away from the trouble. I am saying that in the microcosm of our lives, the day-to-day challenges, keep trying and trying and trying, but sometimes the window opens. I say, take it. Take it. It's not a matter of pride. It's not a matter of stubbornness. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens a window for you, take it. If He opens a door, definitely take it. Right? Don't get stuck on something. A lot of brothers tell me, I've been out of a job for 7 years, man. 7 years. I was like, what have you been doing for 7 years? Well, I'm sending my resumes, trying to get a job in my field. Okay, what are you doing in the interim? Well, getting government assistance and stuff. I was like, you're an engineer. Why don't you find any job? I was like, but I want a job in my field. I was like, please, put your ego on the floor and crush it with your own feet. Stop. Go find a job at Walmart. Go find a job in the strawberry fields. Go work as a janitor. Do what you need to do as an honorable person in order to support your family. There's no such thing, oh, I'm stuck on this. I cannot move into something else. Sometimes it's a matter of ego. It's a matter of ego. You keep trying so hard on one thing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps sending you 5, 10, 15, 20 other doors, and you don't want to go there. And you complain on the Day of Judgment, Ya Allah, I was really trying hard. I was like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be like, I tried harder. I sent you 50 other opportunities and you didn't take them. With what justification, with what excuse, right? That is what I learned from Hijra, brothers and sisters. Two words, problem solving. That's your take-home lesson tonight. Problem solving. Hijra is about problem solving. What is the challenge? Think of a solution. There's an obstacle in the road, turn around it. You don't have to get a sledgehammer and tear it to pieces. Just go around it. Find a way. Right? And in conclusion, inshallah ta'ala, having said that the Prophet ﷺ, and with him all the muhajirin, were refugees. They were. Right? Now, who is the greatest hero in the story of Hijra that is not often mentioned? A group of people. What is that group? That made that Hijra truly successful. The Ansar. The Ansar. And the thing about Ansar, brothers and sisters, is that once the Prophet passed away, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq took over, and the events that the Ummah went through ensued, there was no mention of the Ansar. They did not crystallize themselves into a political party. They did not compete for power. They fulfilled their mission and took care of their job at the Prophet's time, and that is to support the Prophet and lend him help and support. And that was it. And after the Prophet ﷺ passed away, the Ansar as an identity, as a group, was dismantled. And what remained is Ansar as an idea. Ansar as an ideal. That's why the Prophet ﷺ got a little disappointed one day after Hunayn, when the booties of war were being distributed, and he gave a little bit extra to the new Muslims from Mecca and from the other tribes, right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So some of the Ansar got upset about that. He gave his people, a little bit more than us. Wallahi laqad laqiya Rasulullah qawman. The Prophet ﷺ favored his own people. So he spoke to Sa'd and he asked him, Sa'd, is this how you feel? One of the leaders of the Ansar. Yes, Ya Rasulullah. Innama ana rajulun min qawmi. I belong to my people. I feel the same way. So he brought them all together and he said to them these heart-wrenching words. Ya ma'ashar al-Ansar. أوجدتم في قلوبكم في لعاعة من الدنيا أعطيتها أناسا أتألف به قلوبهم للإسلام ووكلتكم إلى إسلامكم. You felt a little bit weird in your hearts when I gave a piece of dunya to them, to those people, in order to attract them to the deen, and I relegated you to the strength of your faith. Seriously? Ya ma'ashar al-Ansar. And he continued to talk to them. To the Ansar, again, you have to understand this is a very, very extremely emotional meeting between the Prophet ﷺ and the Ansar. Ya ma'ashar al-Ansar. Wallahi lawla al-Hijra lakuntum ri'an min al-Ansar. If it wasn't for Hijra, I would have been from the Ansar. I would have been honored to be from the Ansar. Right? فوالله لو سار الناس في شعب وسارت الأنصار في شعب لسرت في شعب الأنصار. If people go this direction and the Ansar go in that direction, I will go with you guys. ألا ترضون أن يذهب الناس بالشاة والبعير وتذهبون أنتم برسول الله إلى رحالكم. Would it not make you satisfied that people take the money and take the goats and take the sheep and take all the stuff and you go back to your homes with Rasulullah with you? Wouldn't that be a better gift? اللهم ارحم الأنصار وأبناء الأنصار وأبناء أبناء الأنصار. Ya Allah, be compassionate and send your mercy upon the Ansar and send your mercy upon their kids and their grandkids. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And my message to you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with a great gift as a community. A beautiful opportunity for us to make hasanat. He sent us thousands of refugees, thousands of immigrants, and thousands of muhajirin into our city. Sent us thousands of refugees into our city because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to bestow upon you and I the honor of carrying the lantern of being Ansar ourselves. Would you be willing to take that honor? Thousands of refugees have come into our city. And it seems that for most of us, business is going as usual. We're not thinking about it. We're just focused on our families and our businesses and our masjid and our little talks, and that's it. But I'm inviting you, brothers and sisters, be like the Ansar. Open your hearts and open your minds to the newcomers into our city. Embrace them. Get involved. Find the organizations that support the refugees. Ask us about those organizations if you'd like to. We will provide you with information. Donate to the cause of the refugees. Volunteer to teach Urdu or Pashto or English classes or whatever to some of the refugees. Help them get their social security numbers. Help them get their driver's licenses. Donate things at your homes, furniture, money, whatever extra stuff, even like supplies in the kitchen or things that belong to the clothes. Donate those things, and inshallah ta'ala, it's on my mind and some of the leaders in the community to organize an event soon to bring the community and the refugees in one platform and get them introduced and create an exchange of ideas and an exchange of emotions and feelings so that we know who those people are. Iraqis coming in the thousands, Syrians coming in the thousands, Afghans coming in the thousands. Okay? There's going to be tens of thousands of new Muslims coming into our city, and I invite, inshallah ta'ala, to treat them with the spirit of the Ansar. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase our iman, to strengthen our hearts, to bring us closer to each other as a community, to increase the love that we have for each other, to increase the love that we have for the Prophet ﷺ, and to increase our love for Allah Azza wa Jal. I ask Allah as He gathered us here in this shape and form to gather all of us in His Jannah. Allahumma ameen. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this upcoming year for all of you, to make it a year of success, a year of blessings, a year of spiritual growth, a year of healing. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that our final destination, every single one of us, each and every one of us, inshallah, will be Allah's Jannah. Ameen, ameen, ameen. Jazakumullah khair for being such good listeners. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.